All right. I think we are all pretty much good to go and ready. We'll get a little bit of gameplay in the background, and I want to say thank you all so much for joining me, and for everybody in my audience. We are joined today with, please correct me if I mess this up, Jiwon Choi and the interpreter Justin Carnahan. Is that correct?
So I'm actually just a publishing manager. I'm not going to be a real active participant in this interview, but the side here is Goen. She's going to be graciously interpreting for us today.
Okay. Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Hi.
Okay, well, I mean, there are a lot of questions that I have, and I guess the first thing that I should probably start off with is that Lies of P has an extremely, very unique type of setting. It's like kind of a Pinocchio, almost fairy tale type design. What caused you all to choose that type of setting and that type of aesthetic?
네, 사실 오늘 드릴 질문이 여러 가지가 있습니다만 제일 첫 번째 드리고 싶은 질문은 피해 거짓 같은 경우 보면은 정말 독특한 그런 배경과 세팅이 마련되어 있는 것 같습니다. 어떤 피노키오와 동화와 막 전설적인 그런 요소들도 많이 들어가 있는 것 같은데 이런 걸 선택하신 동기 내지는 배경에 대해서 좀 설명해 주시겠어요?
네, 독특해야지 관심을 가져주니까요. 네, 독특해야지 관심을 가져줄 건이고, 그리고 또 익숙해야지 접근성이 좋잖아요. 접근성이 익숙하지만 독특해야지 쉽게 이해하고 오랫동안 관심을 가질 수 있는, 그게 피해 거짓의 핵심 전략입니다.
Yes, right. As you have mentioned, you have to be unique in order to attract the interest of the players. But at the same time, it should be something familiar so that people can be very used to it and feel that it is very accessible. So Lies of P started with this basic strategy of providing something that is very unique, that will garner the attention of people, but at the same time, be something familiar as well.
And what were some of the inspirations and like maybe other games or media or things like that that kind of helped inspire the world of Lies of P?
그러면은 추가적으로 질문 드리고 싶은 것은 피해 거짓의 세계관에 어떤 영감을 준 다른 게임이라든지 아니면 다른 미디어에서 봤었던 내지는 뭐 소개되었었던 것들, 그런 것들이 뭐가 있었는지.
네. 저는 어렸을 적부터 비디오 게임 강이 없어요. 그래서 어렸을 적부터 즐겼던 모든 게임들이 피해 거짓을 만드는 데는 영감의 원천이 되고 있고, 또 제가 여행 다니는 걸 좋아하기 때문에 여행 다니면서 보게 됐던 장소들이나 거기 역사들에서도 개발하는 데 큰 도움이 되었습니다.
Since I was a very young child, I've enjoyed video games. So all of the games that I enjoyed throughout my lifetime ended up providing some source of inspiration for Lies of P. And at the same time, I'm an avid traveler. I love traveling. So everything that I've seen while I was traveling, the locations, as well as the history behind everything that I saw, that came to be another source of inspiration as well.
Okay, all right. So he's played a lot of games. What are some of your favorite games?
지금 말씀하시기를 많은 게임을 어렸을 때부터 하셨다라고 말씀하셨는데 그 중에서 제일 좋아하셨던 게임 몇 가지 해주시겠어요?
정말 많은데, 네. 저는 먼저 대전 격투 게임, 스트리트 파이터 2를 되게 좋아하고, 그리고 젤다 시리즈, 그리고 파이널 판타지 시리즈 좋아하고, 또 마지막으로 소울 시리즈를 되게 좋아합니다.
Oh, there's so many. I don't know if I can talk about everything, but Street Fighter 2 was definitely one of my favorites. And
젤다, 네. 시리즈 오브 젤다.
The series of Zelda, and Final Fantasy.
Yeah, Final Fantasy.
As well as the Soul series.
All right. Yeah, that sounds really good. Those are a lot of our favorites here on my stream as well. So that is absolutely perfect to hear. And after, of course, Lies of P now has been exposed to the public, many of us, including myself, have played the beta. How does the development team feel about the response of the public now that people have finally gotten a chance to play the game?
네, 지금 피해 의 데모 버전이 이제 공개되었잖아요. 그래서 많은 분들이 이미 그거를 실질적으로 경험해 보기도 하고 거기에 대한 피드백들도 제공한 것으로 알고 있습니다. 그래서 개발팀 입장에서 봤을 때 이런 반응들에 대해서 어떻게 생각하시는지 좀 듣고 싶습니다.
먼저 소울라이크 팬들이 이렇게 많은 줄을 몰랐어요. 그래서 소울라이크 팬들이 되게 많구나라고 느꼈고 또 한편으로는 이 피해 거짓에도 많은 관심을 가져준 분들이 너무 많아서 감사하다는 말씀을 꼭 오늘 이 자리를 빌어서 꼭 말씀드리고 싶었습니다. 네.
First of all, I was amazed at how many fans there are out there for these Souls-like genre games. So that was firstly the thing that shocked me. And then the second thing was there were a lot of people who showed such kind interest for Lies of P. So I'd like to take this opportunity to really express my gratitude.
네, 또 one more thing. 사실 저희가 출시를 좀 변경을 했어요. 근데 그 변경한 이유를 오늘 꼭 말씀드려야겠다 싶은데 데모 버전을 공개하고 많은 분들이 많이 관심을 가져주고 피드백도 많이 주셨어요. 그래서 정말 잘 만들고 싶었습니다. 진짜 잘 만들고 싶어서 출시를 변경하게 된 점도 꼭 오늘 자리를 빌어서 말씀드리게 됐습니다.
And one more thing that I wanted to add is that actually, based upon the attention and the feedback that we got after the demo release, we have made the decision to actually change the date of the launch.
Ooh.
So we want to really reflect all of the feedback that has been given. It's been very important for us. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be reflected, and thus I'd like to take the opportunity to formally say to all of those out there that we are going to actually push back the launch date a little to make sure all of this is included and reflected.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I remember whenever I played it, I was really kind of astonished because, you know, for the Soulsborne series, I think a lot of people that are, you know, fans of these types of games are just so excited and really happy whenever a new one comes out, no matter what. So I was happy to play it, and I think everybody else that I had really seen was also pretty happy to play it. And I'm curious, now that we're seeing that the date's going to be pushed back a bit, excuse me, what type of changes can we expect to see? There was a lot of feedback on the beta, and how much of those changes are going to happen? Can you give us an idea of like kind of any specific things that are going to be different in the actual release versus whenever we played it on the beta?
One thing real quick I'd like to clarify, we're actually not pushing the launch date back. We're still launching on September 19th. What we were mentioning was after the demo launch, we pushed it back by a couple weeks to do some minor polishing changes and the improvements that Jiwon will mention in this interview, but launch date is the same.
I apologize. I'm used to most of the developers pushing dates back. Thank you.
My apology in the interpretation as well. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
Let me interpret your question to Jiwon.
Okay.
네, 안 그래도 플레이하면서 정말 좋았었고 많은 다른 분들께서도 아주 좋은 호응들을 보이신 것 같습니다. 근데 아시다시피 이런 장르의 게임들에 대해서 즐기는 분들은 늘 새로운 게임이 나올 때마다 정말 기대가 많아질 수밖에 없는 것 같습니다. 저도 그렇고 다른 분들도 그럴 것이라고 생각이 되는데, 그렇다면은 지금 이 피드백을 많이 반영을 해가지고 뭐 최대 더 잘 만드시고 싶으셔서 변경하시는 부분들도 있을 거라고 생각이 되는데, 기대하시는 분들을 위해서 어떤 것들이 바뀔 것인지에 대해서 좀 힌트를 주시면 감사하겠습니다.
소울라이크 시리즈를 생각하면 다들 말씀해요. 어렵다라고. 어렵고 적응하기가 쉽지 않다. 하지만 피해 거짓에서는 그러한 분들에 대해서 아니야, 소울라이크 게임은 어렵지 않고 또 즐기다 보면은 정말 재밌는 게임이야 라는 부분을 꼭 소개하고 싶었어요. 그래서 저희들이 이런 부분에 대해서 많이 집중하고 노력했는데, 데모 버전에는 아직도 적응하기 위한 어려운 부분이 좀 많았다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 많은 피드백들을 확인하고 해서 본편에서는 소울라이크란 장르라는 게 참 재미있고 그냥 어려운 게임이 아니구나 라는 부분을 느낄 수 있도록 접근성에 대해서 저희들이 정말 많이 개선을 하고 노력을 했습니다. 그래서 피드백을 주셔서 다시 한번 감사하다고 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
I think many people, when they play the Souls-like game, they tend to feel that it's difficult, that it's not very easy to get to know the game. So that's the usual type of feedback that we get. But our main objective with Lies of P is to make people understand that no, that's not the case. Actually, Souls-like games are really fun, they're exciting, and they're not that difficult. So that's the main message that we wanted to deliver. However, during the demo version play, I think many people still felt that challenging, that barrier. So we wanted to reflect all of the feedback that we got. And in the final version, you'll be able to see that that has been resolved and that you'll see that it's a fun and really challenging game, but at the same time, very exciting game. So once again, I'd like to mention thank you all who have given us feedback. It's been very much appreciated on that part.
Oh, I mean, as somebody who did that, it was I enjoyed giving it. I enjoyed playing it. So, yeah, I mean, the pleasure is all mine. And I'm kind of curious that whenever you're talking about feedback from a beta, etc., was there any type of feedback that was the most useful to you whenever you were talking about, like, developing the game and making some of these changes for the release specifically?
네, 뭐 저도 굉장히 즐기면서 플레이를 했고 또 즐기면서 제가 느꼈었던 것을 피드백으로 드렸기 때문에 그렇게 생각해 주시니까 정말 좋다고 생각합니다. 그런데 이런 받으신 피드백들 중에서도 특히 유용했다라고 생각하시는 부분들이 있었는지요? 실질적인 출시를 위해서 추가 개발 작업을 위해서 도움이 되었던 것들이 있으면요.
먼저 일단 전투 메커니즘이 많이 달라요. 피해 거짓이. 다른 부분을 저희들이 처음에 많이 경험하게 하고 싶어서 어떤 전투의 차별화되는 요소들이 많았는데 플레이어분들이 그런 요소들을 처음부터 너무 많이 오다 보니까 적응을 하는데 되게 힘드신 그런 모습들을 많이 봤습니다. 그래서 좀 게임의 전투에 적응할 수 있기 위한 어떤 그런 요소들을 차근차근히 적응할 수 있기 위해서 뭐 내구도 밸런스라든지 아니면 회피의 성능이라든지 이런 부분에 대해서도 좀 더 플레이어들이 친숙하게 전투에 적응할 수 있도록 많은 부분들에 대해서 저희들이 개선을 했습니다.
Actually, for the combat mechanisms, we wanted to provide very unique, differentiated types of combat mechanisms to make the overall game much more exciting for players. But I think during the beta version, what happened was that players had to face all of these different types of unique combat mechanisms from the beginning, and they found it a bit difficult to get used to the game because of that. And we've had some feedback related to that. So given that feedback, we've tried to make it a more gradual approach so that the players can get used to the game and even enjoy to the maximum these different types of unique combat mechanisms. So in terms of the durability as well as making use of all of the unique traits that they can do in combat, we have put in quite a bit of extensive work for that.
Oh, I mean, that's definitely very good for me to hear. I remember seeing all the stuff, as somebody who played Sekiro and Bloodborne and everything, a lot of these things I was kind of used to, but I remember watching a few other people who were not as used to these types of games playing it, and it did seem overwhelming for them. So it's really good to hear that some of those different types of learning processes are going to be staggered over more time. I think that's a very good thing. And I'm curious, especially, I mean, this is a Souls-like game, and combat is the bread and butter of what a Souls-like game is. And I'm curious, how do you all feel that Lies of P is like different and separates itself? What is special about the Lies of P combat that separates it from other games in the genre?
네, 그런 말씀해 주셔서 정말 기쁩니다. 왜냐하면 저 같은 경우는 뭐 세키로도 그렇고 블러드본도 그렇고 이런 거에 좀 익숙한 사람임에도 불구하고 하다가 좀 힘든 부분들도 있었는데 익숙하지 않았었던 부분들은 정말 좀 너무 좀 뭐랄까 과하다고 어찌할 바를 모를 그런 상황이 될 수도 있었다고 생각이 돼서 지금 말씀해 주신 것처럼 조금 더 점진적으로 익숙해질 수 있게끔 해주는 거는 정말 좋을 것 같습니다. 한 가지 더 질문 드리고 싶은 점은 지금 말씀하신 것처럼 피해 거짓이 가지고 있는 어떤 독특한 고유의 특징들이 중요할 거라고 생각이 되는데 아무래도 소울-라이크 장르에서는 전투가 핵심이잖아요. 그래서 전투에서 어떤 특별한 차별화되는 부분들이 있는지 좀 설명해 주시겠어요?
네, 피해 거짓에서 전투의 핵심 키워드는 간략하게 저희가 설명드릴 수 있습니다. 어느 한쪽으로만 치우쳐서 전투를 하는 것만이 아니라 다양하게 활용할수록 전투를 유리하게 이끌어가고 더 재미를 극대화시킬 수 있다. 이 점부터 말씀드리고 싶어요.
Yes, to respond to your question, I think Lies of P's combat key notion would be to have a diverse range of things that you can use combat for. And the more different types of and diverse types of approaches that you take for combat will become much more favorable for you in the end. And it will maximize the excitement and the fun factor as well in the game.
네. 또 그리고 이게 비단 다양하게 하다 보면은 이게 어떻게 보면은 억지로 그런 다른 플레이를 강요하게 될 수 있는 그런 부담이 될 수 있는데 그런 쪽이 아니라 저희가 무기 조합이라든지 리저남, 그리고 피기관이라든지 유저가 강화시킬 수 있는 요소들을 오히려 많이 준비를 했어요. 그래서 많은 시스템 중에 어느 시스템 메커니즘이 맞다면 그쪽으로 계속 강화시키면서 나가라. 그럼 그쪽으로 마스터를 할 수 있고 자신만의 캐릭터의 전투 전략을 구축할 수 있다. 이게 저희들이 추가하고 싶은 반대 무엇보다 밸런스가 가장 중요하죠. 그래서 데모 버전에서도 주셨던 그런 피드백들이 저희들이 밸런스 기조, 방향을 잡는 데도 많은 도움이 됐습니다. 그래서 본편을 즐기시면은 끊임없이 선택할 수 있는 전투의 어떤 유저의 강한 요소들을 체험하실 수 있게 됩니다.
And the additional thing that I want to mention is that instead of pursuing one type of combat, we wanted to provide this diverse range of options that players can choose from. That is positive, but at the same time, it may be a bit burdensome for the players because we're pushing them to go into this direction or that direction. But in order to avoid that situation, we are providing many options that they can select from. For example, the assembly of weapons that they can choose to opt for, or within the P organ as well. There are many elements that they can choose to strengthen. So among the various systems and mechanisms, the players will end up choosing the areas that they want to strengthen further. And this will allow them to master that area and have a combat strategy that they have selected and have strengthened throughout. So I'd like to thank you once again for all of the feedback because that has helped us in terms of setting the direction for balancing everything out. And that has been very useful for us. So in the final game, I hope that you'll be able to see that there are many options and choices that you can make that will be the best fit for you.
Okay, all right, yeah, that sounds great. And I'm actually really curious about the build diversity, right? Which is really what we're talking about here. And there are games like, for example, I'll use again Sekiro or Bloodborne that have a much more narrow frame of build diversity. And then you have something like Elden Ring or an MMO that you can do almost anything that you want. So I'm curious, like with Lies of P, are you going to be able to play a complete spellcaster sorcery build? Will you be able to run through the game with a gigantic two-handed greatsword like Guts from Berserk, right? What is the scope of builds that you can play in Lies of P?
네, 빌드의 다양성이 또 중요한 측면이 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 예를 들어서 세키로라든지 블러드본 같은 경우는 조금 더 편협한 그런 빌드로서 가지고 가는 거에 비해서 엘든링 같은 경우는 완전히 광범위하게 펼쳐질 수 있는 그런 특징이 있는 것 같은데요. 라이즈 오브 P 같은 경우는 어떨지에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
네, 다양성을 느낄 수 있는 단적인 예가 이제 뭐 그런 거죠. 컨셉을 잡고 내가 엔딩 한번 봐야겠다. 뭐 예를 들어서 리저남을 사용하지 않고 무기만으로 끝까지 마지막 보스를 클리어한다든지 아니면 난 이번에 리저남을 통해서도 무기를 사용을 최소화하고 끝까지 엔딩을 볼래. 이런 부분이 가능하게끔 만들도록 저희들이 노력을 많이 했어요. 그래서 다른 게임들 같은 경우에는 여러 가지 결국은 혼합해서 사용할 수밖에 없을 것 같긴 하지만 저희들은 아까 빌드에 한쪽으로만 해도 결코 크게 플레이어가 적응이 된다면 어려움을 느끼지 않고 극복할 수 있는 형태로 설계를 했습니다.
An example of what that diversity can feel like would be, for example, depending on the concept that the player will choose. For example, if a player says, I want to go all the way to the ending by using just the weapons and not the Legion arm. Or if you want to go the opposite direction, all of that is going to be made possible. And that's what we wanted to achieve from the beginning. So I'm sure that for other games as well in this genre, everything could be a combination. It's not very strictly whether it's narrow or whether it's wide. There will be a combination of this and that throughout. But whatever the direction the player chooses or whatever strategic concept they choose, going in that direction is going to be very accessible. It won't be too hard for them to adjust, and it will be just as fun.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And a lot of games have like a co-op feature, and especially with Souls games, they have like invasion type features. And I'm curious if Lies of P is going to have a co-op feature, and if there's going to be an invasion feature for the game as well, and how that's going to work. Like for
이쪽
PvP.
장르,
Sorry. Oh, for PvP, basically.
Okay. 네, 사실 이쪽 장르의 게임들을 보면은요, 약간 협력하는 코업 기능이라든지, 인베이션이라든지, 이런 것들도 가능한 경우들이 많은데, 이렇게 PVP 형태의 코업이라든지, 인베이션은 피해거짓에서 어떻게 도입하실 계획이 있으신지 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
먼저 저희가 처음으로 이 싱글 패키지 게임에 도전을 해요. 그래서 이 싱글에서부터 재미부터 저희들이 확실하게 잘 만들고 재미있게 만들고 인정을 받자. 이게 좀 저희들의 강한 목표거든요. 그래서 PVP를 도입하는 부분은 저희들이 싱글부터 재미있게 확실하게 잘 만들고 난 다음에 그 이후의 작품들이나 다음 계획에서 고려를 하고 있습니다.
So from our end, this is actually the first time that we have developed and are launching this single package game. And our main objective for this game is to make sure that this single package game is going to be really fun, that everyone is going to enjoy it. We want to get that acknowledgement first and then build it out further for co-op or PvP and maybe in the next phase or the next game that's coming up.
So you're talking about next phase, next game that's coming up. Is Lies of P the type of game that would have potentially a sequel or a DLC?
네, 지금 안고를 다음 단계에서 고려하겠다라고 말씀을 하셨는데요. 그렇다면은 피해 거짓이 나중에 뭐 시퀄 쪽으로 나올 수 있을 만한 가능성이 있는 게임이죠. DLC에 대한 계획이 또 있는지도 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
네, 먼저 라이즈 오브 T는 애초 구상한 세계가 다소 컸습니다. 다소 커서 본편에서 들려드리지 못한 이야기들은 언젠가 꼭 들려드리고 싶었거든요. 그래서 DLC에서도 저희가 이런 보여주지 못한 그런 세계를 보여주는 계획을 잡고 있기 때문에 DLC에서도 아직 코옵을 플레이하기보다는 저희가 마저 싱글 플레이를 온전하게 만드는 계획을 잡고 있고, 예, 물론이죠. 차후 작품 이런 부분에서는 멀티플레이나 코옵 이런 부분도 충분히 고려를 해볼 수 있습니다.
First of all, for Lies of P, the original world for Lies of P was very immense. We were not able to fit everything into this current game. So I think once the final game comes out, you'll be able to see much of what we have created, but there are some that have not been able to be fully shown to everyone. So we are having some plans related to DLC. But even there, I think it will not be going towards a co-op play type of a version, but rather pushing the single play all the way to its limit. And then for future other titles that come out, maybe we can have some multiplayer and co-ops at that point in time.
Okay, all right.
또 한 가지가 있어요. 예, 저희들은 계속해서 경험이 필요하고 많은 생각도 해야 됩니다. 많은 고민도 해야 되고, 왜냐면은 유저들에게 재미를 전달해야 되니까요. 그래서 저희들의 욕심도 있겠지만 무엇보다 저희가 전달하고자 하는 순수한 재미에 집중하는 게 가장 중요하다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 이 부분도 꼭 말씀드리고 싶었어요.
And one more thing that I really wanted to highlight is the fact that we have to, at our end, also acquire this experience and go through the thinking process, all for the purpose of providing an excellent, fun game to the players. And that's our ultimate goal, really to provide best fun, pure fun to our players.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think all that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of having content added into the game and like not knowing like how to fit everything in, etc., I think that one also really big component of games like Lies of P and other Souls-like type games have like this form of environmental storytelling, and I was curious how much of the storytelling of just the story of Lies of P is going to be done through environmental effects such as like just different buildings, types of NPCs, item descriptions, etc., and how much is going to be told directly through cinematics and character interactions.
네, 사실 소울라이크 장르에서 피해 거짓을 비롯해서 보면은요, 상당히 그 덧붙여지는 컨텐츠 중에 이런 환경적인 스토리텔링을 통해서 많이 전달되는 경우들이 있지 않습니까? 뭐 예를 들어서 뒤에 있는 건물들이라든지 NPC들이라든지 아이템의 묘사라든지 이런 쪽에서 전달되는 부분도 많다고 생각이 됩니다. 그래서 제가 여쭤보고 싶은 것은 라이즈 오브 P에서 이런 스토리텔링의 어느 정도 비중을 그런 인바이러먼털 요소들을 통해서 진행해 나갈 것인지 아니면은 직접적인 그런 시네마틱 부분을 통해서 전달하실 것인지에 대해서도 여쭤보고 싶었습니다.
모든 걸 고려를 했습니다. 뭐 환경을 통해서 간접적인 스토리텔링도 저희들이 집중을 했고, 그리고 캐릭터의 사건들을 통해서 대사나 이벤트들에서 직접적인 스토리텔링도 어느 정도 균형감을 맞추도록 노력을 했습니다. 하지만 단 한 가지 저희가 집중을 했던 것은 친절함을 잊지 말아야 된다. 게임의 컨셉도 있겠지만 이 피해 거짓을 전달하고 싶은 이야기만큼은 많은 유저분들이 즐겨주셨으면 좋겠다는 바람이 있었어요. 그래서 그 이야기를 접근하는 데 있어서 그 정도 친절함도 갖추려고도 많이 노력을 했다는 점도 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
It will be a balance of everything because we've considered all of the elements, you know, delivering the storytelling through environmental elements such as you have mentioned indirectly, or the other way around, directly through the characters and what happens to them and what they say, the dialogue and so forth. It will have to be a balance. Nevertheless, the most important thing for us is that it should be easy for the players. We want to make it something they can really access easily and they can understand and identify what the storytelling is, because we want all of the players to enjoy the storytelling of Lies of P.
앞서 설명드린 대로 저희들은 이 소울라이크라는 게임이 이렇게 진입 장벽이 높은 게임이 아니야 라는 말씀을 드렸어요. 그래서 이야기도 마찬가지로 이야기도 되게 매력적인 게임이니까 그래서 한번 즐겨주면은 소울라이크 게임이 이야기와 플레이 방식 전투도 되게 매력적이구나, 이러한 부분에서도 저희들이 많이 집중을 했다라고 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
As I briefly mentioned earlier, for a Souls-like game, what we wanted to deliver as a message to the players is that there's not a huge entry barrier. This is not a type of game that's too difficult for everyone to enjoy. So from that starting point, we want to make sure that it's enjoyed both on the combat level as well as for the story level.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And in terms of the story level, I think I was watching the video that you all made whenever he was wearing that bucket or the hat next to him, and he was talking about how players would have to yes exactly, and he was talking about how players would be going back to Kraut, which is my understanding that's going to be like the main hub of the game. And can we expect to see like more of the doors open, different NPCs go through Kraut, and like that space evolve as the story progresses throughout the game?
지난번에 이거를 착장하신 상태에서 찍었었던 동영상에서도 말씀하셨는데 모든 것들이 다시 크라스로 돌아가서 그게 약간 중심지가 된다, 이런 설명을 해주셨었습니다. 향후 저희가 이제 게임의 후반부로 들어가고 이제 실제 본 게임이 나온 다음에 추가적으로 우리가 보지 못했었던 새로운 문들이 열린다든지 새로운 곳으로 안내가 된다든지 이런 것도 기대해 볼 수 있을까요?
네. 먼저 일단 뭐 레벨업 호텔 가는 방식에 대해서도 좀 피드백이 있어서 한번 말씀을 드리고는 싶네요. 네. 호텔에서만 레벨업이 가능한 방식은 요즘 방식과는 맞지는 않다고 생각해요. 저희도 알고 있습니다. 하지만 저희들이 진짜 일단 먼저 이야기, 시나리오에 대해서 많이 노력했다는 점부터 말씀드리고 싶어요.
Yes, I think I would like to expand upon this question that you have asked because there has been some feedback about having to go back to the hotel to level up and how that's not really fitting the demands or the requirements of the players. And we acknowledge the fact that that may not be really fitting of a game at this level. But we wanted to also emphasize the story, the scenario to its fullest. So that may have been one of the causes behind that. If I could elaborate a little bit more on what we've been doing from that perspective.
네. 그리고 또 단순히 호텔에서 레벨업만 할 수 있는 곳은 아니에요. 무궁무진한 많은 이벤트가 일어나고 또 그 호텔에서 할 수 있는 유저의 행위들도 상당히 많습니다. 예를 들어서 LP 플레이어도 있듯이요. 예, 그러한 놀이가 되게 많기 때문에 호텔에 가는 게 꼭 레벨업을 하는 게 아니라 즐길 수 있는 거리들이 되게 많다는 것을 본편에서 꼭 경험을 하시게 될 겁니다. 그래서 마치 호텔이라는 곳이 살아 숨쉬는 어떤 생명체와 같다는 것을 느끼게 될 거예요. 그리고 오늘 이렇게 살짝 힌트를 드리는데 호텔에 이제 본편에 가시면은 호텔에서 깜짝 놀랄 만한 손님이 기다리고 있을 거예요. 네.
So the hotel is not a location where you simply can do level up only. There are other types of events and actions that the player can be involved in. There's a lot of games that they can also enjoy as well. So it's not just a location for coming back to level up. There will be a lot of experiences that are going to be provided in the final game, and it'll almost be like the hotel is not just an object or a place or a building, but it's almost a living organic thing that you can, enjoy a lot of activities from. And one thing, if I tell you today, just between us,
Okay.
if in the
I won't
final
tell anybody
game,
else.
the hotel, you'll be able to meet a guest that will completely shock you.
Okay.
Big guest. 예.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited. I really am. I remember hearing, whenever I played, I had the same feedback as well. I was a little bit concerned, but whenever I heard it explained, I think that it is incredibly important to make sure that, the vision of the game is, to the standard of the people who make it. And it did not ruin Bloodborne, have to go back to the Hunter's Dream. It didn't ruin, Demon Souls to have to do that, or Dark Souls 2. So I think that honestly, if that's the direction that they feel is the right option, you all feel is the right option, I think go with it, right? That's the most important thing. And being able to stick with something like that is I think very important because it matters a lot. And another question I have, and I do apologize, I think it was only supposed to be a half hour. We're going on 40 minutes, so I apologize. Is it okay if I ask one or two more questions?
얼마든지 괜찮아요.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. The other thing I was going to ask is, how long do you think an average playthrough of the game is going to take?
평균적으로 플레이 시간이 어느 정도 될 거라고 보시는지.
네, 숙련자들, 기존의 소울라이크 작품들을 즐겨 하셨던 분들도 약 30여 시간의 플레이 타임을 하게 될 거고, 저희가 엔딩을 정말 매력 있게 만들었어요. 그래서 엔딩을 다 즐기고 이야기를 다 즐기시려면은 약 50시간도 부족할 거라고 자신 있게 말씀드리고 싶어요. 네.
We believe for skilled players who have experience with Souls-like game, they will have at least about 30 hours of playtime. But one thing I want to add is that for the ending, we've given a lot of attention to make sure that the ending is really exciting and attractive. So to fully enjoy that, as well as the story of the game, I think maybe 50 hours would not be enough. I can confidently say that.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's quite a lot. And after those 50 hours, is there going to be a new game plus or anything similar to that?
50시간이 지난 다음에 새로운 게임이 추가적으로 제공된다든지 이런 게 있을까요?
그 캐릭터 빌드업을 4회차를 하게 돼도 계속 이어갈 수 있어요. 그리고 피기간, 피올간 시스템에서 획득할 수 있는 효과가 60여 가지를 넘어요. 그리고 무기조합도 하게 되면 100여 가지 넘는 게 많고 또 리저남도 업그레이드 해야 되니까 그래서 자신만의 빌드를 완성시키겠다 하려고 하면 50시간도 부족할걸요.
The characters build up, even if they go through multiple times of gameplay, it can actually be continued. And there are many things that you can pursue. For example, the P organ system, you can have like over 60 gains that you can achieve. And the weapons assembly altogether, it would be definitely over 100. And the Legion arm could be upgraded continuously. So to really go ahead with that player build all the way to what you want to achieve, I think 50 hours is definitely not going to be enough.
네. 또 저희가, 사실 데모 버전이 좀 많이 공개하지 않은 부분이긴 해요. 그래서 저희가 솔직하게 저희 개발자분들은 데모 버전이 제일 좀 심심하다라고 생각을 해서 데모 버전 공개가 우려가 많았거든요. 본편을 즐기시게 되면은 데모 버전 이후 분량에서 숨겨진 모험들이 또 많이 기다리고 있어요. 그래서 그런 것들을 다 파헤치고 정복하는데도 또 다른 재미가 될 겁니다. 정말 이쪽 부분에서도 꼭 소개하고 싶은데 데모 버전에서도 분량 때문에 못했던 부분이 많이 아쉬울 텐데 그런 찾아가는 재미까지도 정복하시려고 하면 정말 무궁무진한 시간을 가지게 될 겁니다.
Additionally, related to the demo version, really the time was not sufficient enough to be able to show you everything that we have provided and planned in the game. And actually, our developers were a little concerned about the demo version, saying, well, we can't show everything that we wanted to show. It's not fun enough. But afterwards, when you actually experience the final game, there will be many adventures that weren't introduced in the demo game. So in order to identify them and conquer all of these adventures, time is going to be quite, you're going to require a lot of time to be able to identify all of that and fully enjoy them.
Yeah.
There's one thing I like to add just real quick. Like personally, from a replayability standpoint, I feel like the weapon assembly system is extremely strong. So you can mix and match blades and handles, not only to min-max your stats, but also they're connected to their own special skills called Fable Arts and adjust the actual attack patterns and motions and everything. So it's really interesting just to play around with that system and try different strategies, and also with the Legion arms as well. So you can create a lot of cool combos.
Yeah, it seems like the robustness of the that arm system and everything is supposed to kind of create the replayability. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah, okay.
이 무기 관련돼 있는 시스템이 아까 말씀해 주신 것처럼 그렇게 구축되어 있는 것이 이제 다시 플레이할 때, 재플레이할 때의 그 연결성이라든지 이런 것들을 초점 맞추신 것 같아요. 맞나요?
네, 맞습니다. 네, 그리고 아까 말씀드렸던 내구도도 사실, 무기 조합의 한 요소로 작용을 하고 싶은 게 저희들이 의도예요. 또 이 내구도 시스템이 또 데모 분량 이후 버전에 가면은 단지 수리하는 것만 아니라 또 무기를 일시적으로 강화할 수 있게끔 사용할 수 있어요. 예를 들어서 날의 속성을 부여해서 몬스터 종류에 따라 좀 더 강한 공격력을 가지게 한다든지 아니면 파괴력을 올려서 좀 더 강한 적을 또 용이하게 경직시킬 수 있다는 등에 대한 전략적인 용도로도 사용할 수가 있게 됩니다.
Yes, indeed, you're right. And the durability system as well, it's actually one element of the overall weapons assembly. If you could, look at it from that perspective, it might be a little bit easier to understand. Of course, it wasn't easy to introduce all of this and make you understand through the demo version. However, in the full game, you'll be able to see that it's not only used to repair weapons, but at some points you can actually use it to temporarily strengthen the weapons. For example, you can use the attributes of the blade in order to enhance the destructibility or the strength, depending on which monster you come face to face with. And the destruction level can be enhanced as well. So all of that is going to be.
네, 일단 멋지잖아요. 네,
Isn't that
멋지잖아요.
cool? I mean,
cool.
just the fact that you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand. It's like, yeah, you repair it and it has like enhanced blunt damage or, knockdown damage, stagger damage. I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, that's definitely really cool. And I do have, I guess as my last question that I would have is, obviously Lies of P is one of the many Souls-like games that a lot of people out there are intimidated by. They're afraid. They don't want to play these games because they're worried they're going to be stuck on the tutorial boss. They're never going to be able to finish them. What advice and what insight do you have to the people that aren't, like, they're maybe afraid or a little bit apprehensive to trying a new game like Lies of P? What insight would you have for them to motivate them to maybe want to try a Souls-like game for the first time?
네, 마지막으로 질문드리고 싶은 점은 라이즈 오브 피와 같은 이런 게임에 대해서 좀 걱정하시는 분들 있잖아요. 두려워하고 시작해봤자 튜토리얼 몬스터에서 너무 오래 걸릴 것 같다. 그래가지고선 좀 걱정하시는 분들을 위해서 드릴 수 있는 조언 내지는 좀 동기부여 해주실 수 있는 말씀 좀 해주시면 감사하겠습니다.
네, 멋진 피노키오가 나와. 이 멋진 피노키오가 나오기 때문에 겁먹지 마. 네, 그리고 저희가 진입 장벽을 낮추기 위해서 데모를 통해서 정말 많은 고된 시간을 가졌습니다. 뭐 가이드 팝업이 나오는 타이밍이라든지 보스의 난이도라든지 또 그리고 첫 번째 보스 프레디 마스터에게 사망하고 부활한 다음에 다시 제조돈을 위해서 가는 별바라기 스타게이저와의 위치까지도 제가 대조용도 했어요. 그래서 제발 많은 분들이 이 피해 거짓은 그렇게 힘들고 어려운 게임이 아니란다. 되게 멋진 이야기가 기다리고 있는 그런 게임이라는 점을 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
First and foremost, the main character, the Pinocchio, is very cool. So you want to play this game. Don't be afraid. So that's the first thing that I want to mention. And since the demo version, we've done quite a bit of adjustments to make sure that entry barrier doesn't seem so high. We've tweaked a lot of things, including the timing of the guide pop-up, as well as when you come back to have a rematch with the parade master, that distance from the stargazer, that's been adjusted as well. So we've done a lot of tweaking, a lot of adjustments, and you'll be able to see that, Lies of P is just a really cool game.
네, 혹시 데모 버전 피드백을 받고 저희가 본편까지 이르기 위해서 많은 개선을 했었습니다. 그러다 보니까 제가 한 5년은 늙은 것 같습니다. 네.
One final thing I want to add is because of all of the improvements that we have had to go through after the demo version, I feel like I've aged 5 years.
하지만 영광입니다.
But it's an honor to be able to do this.
Is that why he was wearing the hat?
그래서 이거 마스크 끼시면
네, 맞습니다.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. Well, I really appreciate it, and I mean, from on behalf of a lot of people, I think that we're all really excited to play the game. And just so I'm sure, it's coming out on September 19th. Is that right?
다시 확인해.
That's correct. Yep. We will have early access starting 3 days before that, though.
Okay.
For anyone who pre-orders the deluxe edition.
Oh, all right. And
We also-
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, so is it on Steam? Is it on any other platforms besides Steam?
Yep, so on Steam, PlayStation, and Xbox.
Okay, great. Well, I am quite excited to play it, and I want to say thank you so much for doing the interview and talking with me and talking with everybody in the community. These are a lot of questions that many people have had, and so thank you so much for answering all of them and giving us your insight into where the game's going.
The pleasure was all ours. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
감사합니다. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Bye. Oh my god. Bro, that guy's a legend. I love him. Oh my god. All right. Is that good? Good? You guys like that? Meeting is safe? Yeah. Bro, like, I really hope this game is gonna be fun, man. I remember I played it, and, like, how much do you want to fucking bet that the reason why... Well, I'll link you guys the thing, like, yeah, it's on Steam. If somebody has the link to the Steam thing, if they can post it, one of my mods can post it and pin it or something like that. Thanks for the interview. I mean, yeah, I mean, huge shout out to them, too. I mean, abso-fucking-lutely, man. It is so fucking funny to me that, like, how much do you want to bet that they saw Tectone rage out on the tutorial boss, and they're like, yeah, we gotta change this? Because I remember he just got, like, he didn't even beat the tutorial boss. And this is, like, right after he had gotten done talking the biggest amount of shit about, what do you call it? About, like, oh, yeah, he's gonna beat all these games and everything like that. It's no big deal. And didn't even beat the tutorial. Yeah, great interview. Thank you. I appreciate it. I know there were some people on Twitter who were like, oh, why was it him? But I hope that I did a good job. I hope I answered the questions that you all wanted me to. I covered the topics that you wanted me to cover. And I think that, you know, as somebody who's played a lot of these types of games, you know, there you go. There you go. 12 Asthma is a great content. Yeah, for sure. Why is it him? Yeah, I'll answer some questions, and then we'll move on and look at some other stuff for sure. Did you ask about Pinocchio Wooden Boy skin? No, I didn't ask that. What does the P stand for? Pinocchio, obviously. Right, obviously Pinocchio. Yeah. Really great interview. Thanks. I don't think they understood your New Game Plus question. There were some questions that I didn't ask. Like, so for example, I didn't ask the question about mods because of what they said about PvP. Is that I think that because PvP was out of the scope of the game, I think that also, like, whether they had mod support or not would probably also be out of the scope of, like, what the game was. And so there were some things I didn't answer or didn't ask because of kind of the implication of what they had already said. So, he never confirmed a gut sword. You need to ask him on Twitter. Yeah, I know. Oh, Lady Translator was amazing. Yeah, she was a legend. Like, I was really impressed. Absolutely. Yeah, interview was awesome. Great job. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. There's a really good chance for a great sword, no doubt. Yeah, I know. How much intrigued are you by the story of Lies of P? I'll try it out. I'll see what it's like. I mean, here's the thing with me, right? Is, like, anytime a new game comes out like this, I'll always... I mean, bro, I played Bleak Faith. Like, of course I'm gonna play this. I mean, really, like, I think that's, like... I played Mortal Shell. I didn't play Thymesia. I never got around to that one. But were you stressed out? I don't really get stressed out in interviews that much, no. I mean, there was, like, a little bit of concern that I had because, obviously, you know, having an interview with somebody who... you know, isn't a native English speaker with a translator, I always worry that something could get lost in translation. But to be honest, the way that they, the way that the questions were translated, at least to my understanding, it feels like they were answered pretty, oh, I don't know, what's the word? Like, pretty completely, you know? Okay, she was amazing. Yeah, sometimes I worry, like, am I asking too much? Thoughts on translators' abilities? It seemed really good to me, yeah. It definitely did. They're an indie studio, and sometimes I think they, what if they have more money? Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, that's kind of the way that they probably see it too, is like, you know, there's only so many things they can do given the situation, right? It's not because, what's this here? These things can happen, cool start? Yeah, exactly. Comment mechanism variety, yeah. I can't remember if you put Lies of P on your list, but it's obviously there now. Well, I played the beta. I think that at the time I didn't even know about this game whenever I made that list. I just really like that they're focused on the base game being a complete experience, yeah, rather than like adding in a bunch of other stuff and like increasing the scope of it to like some massive degree, and then, you know, things aren't as good as possible, and, you know, any other interviews planned. I'm always down to interview developers. To be honest, I actually might have an opportunity. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm just going to say it. I might have an opportunity to interview some people maybe over at Lords of the Fallen as well. I'm not sure. Like, I told them, like, right now I've got a lot of, like, stuff going on, And so as soon as I can get that kind of at least lowered a little bit, like, I'd love to figure out a time and do it. And so, yeah. I like doing the interviews. They're enjoyable for me. And yeah, we'll probably put this interview on YouTube as well. Might as well start a podcast for interviews. I have no problem interviewing people. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people over time, and when we do an interview with From Software and Miyazaki, I mean, that definitely is on the list, okay? It's gonna happen one day. For sure. While you're leaking announcements, can we expect anything on the Baldur's Gate 3 front? I have not had any contact with the development team for Baldur's Gate 3, so I have no idea. Maybe one day I could do something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, but you guys, I'm not talking to everybody, okay? Like, it doesn't mean I don't want to. I just haven't talked to them. That's all. Am I now the Souls game guy? No, I think there's a lot of people that are really big in the Souls community, right? I mean, you have people that are like huge in terms of like you know, lore, right? Like VaatiVidya, Ziostorm does a lot of like a lot of what would you really call it? Like, what's the type of content? Like just general content, I think, probably for Souls games. There's like obviously Chase the Bro, like that's the first person I think of whenever I think of like Souls PvP. And I play a lot of different kinds of games. I mean, do I play only Souls games? No, I've played every Dark Souls game. I've played all of them. I've even played the mods too. Distortion, you know, in terms of like playing through new mods and, you know, doing speed runs. Definitely a good resource there. Gets to talk to Yoshi P again. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Yeah. And now I actually have beaten the Final Fantasy game. Remember what he said to S-Fan? How interview with PoE devs about PoE 2? Yeah, I might do that at some point. I just don't know when exactly. You're checking out AC6 new footage? Yeah, I mean, I was kind of sad because today I actually had the opportunity to play Armored Core 6. I was going to play Armored Core 6 today. I was set up to do it and everything. The reason why I didn't, I've had so much stuff going on, and I knew I wouldn't have time. Right, I was very disappointed I wasn't able to do it, but you know, the Bandai Namco team, you know, they reached out, I think, to Tips or somebody, and it was gonna happen. Overslept. I wish I overslept. I was helping my dad, and he's been sick, and so I didn't really like. I basically had to like either do this or do that, and I couldn't really do both in the same day. So yeah.